friend over there, a physiologist, Samina
Okay.
Malik. But if you seriously address, then I can talk with her and together we can take a session for how to stay away from stress. So we
Yes, yes.
covered actually metacognition and mindfulness.
Okay.
So
We can plan it. We can plan it.
if you plan it, you let me know beforehand. I'll talk to her and then we can conduct it.
Okay, okay. I'll let you know
For
when
about
we can.
four-
So,
400 medical students during that COVID time.
okay. So all the students, all years, or only freshers were?
All years, yeah.
All combined, yes.
All years. 400 above students were there, my plus 400.
So maybe in February we can keep it because nowadays exams are going on. So
Yeah, whenever you have time, because that time we did for that batch because it was COVID batch and they were really stressed out.
Okay,
And
so
so we did a session on, it was about 1.5 hours or so. But we did late evening. I mean, when everything closed down, normal teaching, learning all closed down, then we did. So it was around, I think, 7 o'clock Pakistan time. That was because it was for their students.
okay.
Because my friend that Samina Malik is a trained yoga teacher also.
Still we have 2-3 minutes, so let's wait. Others
Yeah,
will
yeah,
join.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. हम लोग यहाँ पे जब गुजरात में रखते हैं तो we do it after working hours. We put it around 6:30, 7:30 or 7:30, 8:30 like that. We did one for cognition to metacognition for the Gujarat chapter.
Yes, I attended that.
You attended that. So you can take these seminars now in your place, can't you?
मेरा कैमरा भी नहीं चल रहा। आपने ये बटन चेंज कर दिया था?
दीजिए।
ऑन पे यही आपके यहाँ हाँ ये ऑन पे
इसको हटाना पड़ेगा यहाँ से।
दोनों में से कोई भी चला सकता है।
ये दोबारा से कर लूँ ना के? कर रहे हो? Yes, push.
Shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, as and when you feel it right to start, you can start. I have no issues. If you want to wait a little bit more, also fine. If you want to start now, you can go ahead. No issues.
How many participants?
25.
I can start.
So, a very good afternoon to all. On behalf of Medical Education Unit, Aiims Bilaspur, it is my immense pleasure to welcome you all to the second webinar of Webinar Series 2022-23. Topic for today's webinar is Incorporation of Metacognition Strategies in Teaching. I'm sure it will be an enlightening session for all of us. Before the start of this academic event, we would like to begin by seeking divine blessings from Goddess Saraswati in form of Saraswati Vandana. Kindly pay attention for few seconds.
There's no sound. There's no sound.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Now I would request Dr. Poonam Verma, Additional Professor, Department of Physiology, Faculty in Charge Medical Education Unit at Aiims Bilaspur, who has been the keen person in organizing this webinar. I request ma'am to kindly begin and moderate the session.
Very good afternoon to all. So I welcome you all in this webinar series, and this is our second webinar on incorporation of metacognition strategies in our day-to-day teaching. So we have invited a very well-known speaker, Dr. Sarmishta Ghosh. Is my slide is visible?
I think you have put up my full CV.
No, ma'am.
Is it?
Madam is मैं फिर से out कर रही हूँ. Just wait, just wait. So we have with us Dr. Sarmishta Ghosh, and she is basically a physiologist and has done his MHPA, Masters in Health Professional Education, and she is FEMER Fellow. Madam is a very experienced in teaching and research, and she has done research on student stress and autonomic reactions, innovative teaching learning activities and assessment strategies to identify potential high and low achievers. She has a wide experience in working in 3 different countries in various capacities and academic as well as administrative. The 3 countries, they are the Malaysia, Nepal and India. Currently, she is serving as professor in health profession education at Bhai Kaka University in Gujarat, and she is involved in improvement of faculty development program, mentorship program, and is the head of feedback committee in the university. She has completed her masters in health profession education from Kele University and is an experienced health professional educator. She has delivered numerous workshops in related field and also been invited for symposium at IUPS and APA PHS. She has published many original research papers in esteemed journals of physiology and as well as medical research. Her area of specialization is human physiology and medical and health professional education. So I invite Madam to start her presentation and enlighten us with her thoughts. Please, Madam.
Okay, thank you very much for this invitation, and I really appreciate that people are now interested in knowing over and above cognitive functioning. So can I have my first slide, please, so that I can move on from there? So basically here, how many physiologists are here? I mean, and what are the specialties that we have here? Clinicians or allied health or anything like that? Participants, you can either unmute your mic or you can write on the in the chat. So if you pharmacology, okay. This is just to have a quick ice breaking so that I know what audience I'm speaking to. I saw one pharmacology, physiology, okay. Physiology. Anybody other than, I mean, any clinician here or any anatomy, okay, great. Okay, you people can keep putting. I'll start my session. Community medicine. Okay, that's a mixed group. Very good. I think this is the wrong one. Are you sharing the one that I have sent you now?
Let me check, madam. I have shared the one that you have sent me.
Okay, wait, let me share and we can use, because everybody is going to see it in the same, this thing. Wait, let me check out if I have sent you the wrong one. No, I've not sent you the wrong one. I've sent you the correct one only, but somehow
And please
so-
resend. No problem.
No, it's the correct one. I forgot to change the SDL thing because our topic is using metacognitive strategies in teaching. Okay?
Okay.
So it's fine. It's fine. I saw through the whole thing. Please ignore this first slide. Go to the next. Right. So what we are going to do is we are going to just see what is metacognition and how it is related to cognition. What is the importance of knowing this attribute and how we can incorporate metacognitive strategies to improve the students' learning. Next slide. Okay. Do we know our learners very well? That is the first thing we need to be very careful. We are dealing with people or students who are basically the modern learners. Now they are overwhelmed with information. They are very much distracted with social media and other sources of information that come to them. And more importantly, they're very impatient. Okay, they want exactly the right amount of information, just as much required. The first question they're going to ask you is, what is in there for me? Why am I learning this? I'm becoming a doctor, so why are you teaching me glucose, structure of glucose? Why are you teaching me these theoretical things? So, keeping in mind that the skills they are going to they will need to become a 21st century learner and successful learner, we have to make some changes or adjustments in our own teaching process. So if you are aware of the 21st century skills, they are primarily these that I mentioned over here. They should have information literacy because information is all around. They need to be critical thinkers. They have to be creative and innovative. Communicative, because communication is the sole thing that exists now. If we are not communicative, we may not be able to learn or share our own knowledge also. And finally, it is problem solving, that everything is basically a problem. So the ability of an individual to solve problems is perhaps going to be the key word for survival in recent times. Next. Next. So as trainers, what we can do? No. Okay. As trainers, what we can do is we can develop instructional strategies to take care of the cognitive load. Now the question comes that can we influence the psychological state of our learners? Because they're overwhelmed, they have too much of information overloading or cognitive overloading. And we often see, I don't know about your institute, but globally we have a lot of breakdowns, depression, even committing suicide. So that itself is creating a very negative environment in medical schools. So the issue is that can we address the psychological state and facilitate better learning? Next. Now, NMC has given this term self-directed learning. Self-directed learning means the students will be able to identify their learning needs. They will be able to identify resources. From there, they will learn what they need to learn. And then they are going to organize the whole learning in such a way that they ultimately come out with the knowledge which is required, applicable, reproducible, and when they face with situations, those situations, then actually they can apply their knowledge and get through. So, Knowles, who I know, Malcolm Knowles. How many of you have heard the name of Malcolm Knowles? He is the person who gave the distinction between pedagogy and andragogy. Many people say there is nothing called andragogy, but there is something called adult learning principles. You know, adults learn very differently from the children. So, considering these things and Long's viewpoint of metacognition, what is found, educators have found that if you need to be a lifelong learner, you have to develop the skill of being a self-directed learner and a self-regulated learner. So when you empower a learner to be a self-directed learner, you need all these four things. One is motivation. This motivation can be internal or external. We have metacognition, self-regulation. Does the student, or are we training our students to self-regulate their learning process? And finally, we have the knowledge of learning process. Students need to know when they are learning, how they are learning. Next. So there comes the term metacognition. Now, cognition, we all know that it is basically learning content, the information learning, which of course our cerebral cortex plays a role. Now, what is metacognition? Metacognition, very simply, they say that it is thinking about your own thinking. Now, is that so simple? Thinking about your own thinking? How do we interpret that? We need to monitor our own thinking. That if I have done something today in this manner, is it possible that we can do it in a different way, spending less time, getting less stressed out, having less workload? Can it be done? So that is what we mean by thinking about your thinking. So we have to be conscious. We need to bring in our cerebral cortex, and we need to have a control, an executive control, that when we are doing, that has to be controlled. Now again, Zimmerman, Flavel, Long, these are the people who work with metacognition. So Zimmerman said there are metacognitive activities. And research, plenty of educational research have been conducted, which suggests that correlation between self-directed learning and metacognition exists. So if a learner engages in executive control, that means if the learner is conscious about his own learning and his thinking, and he applies metacognitive processes, these two together enhances his ability to be a self-directed learner. Next. Okay. Hold on. Now, questions, metacognition, the whole concept of metacognition relies on the fact that you ask questions. You don't give facts. So what are the questions asked? You can ask a question like, what should I do first? Suppose you are going for a class. Before that, you as a teacher, you should think yourself that what should I do first? Should I tell them the learning objectives first, or should I give them a case first? Same applies to the students. Students will also think that what should I do first? Should I learn from the textbook first, then go to the class, or should I go to the class first and then learn from the teacher, come back and do? So if you see these 7 questions, they all appear in this Edutopia website. Edutopia, for your information, is a very good website which gives you a lot of idea about teaching strategies, assessment strategies, and all these. So you people can just follow it. It's a free thing that is available. Then suppose a student gets an answer wrong. Normally they do what? They will come running to you. Ma'am or sir, why is this wrong? Explain. You should not explain it then. You should tell that you find out what is wrong in this answer and why you got it wrong. So these questions, if you keep on going through these questions, you know that these are the questions which promote metacognition. Next. So do you know how to learn? Do you know how to look into yourself to examine how to learn? And do you know how to judge and analyze what is effective? So you must equip your students with these types of questioning. And probably this is why NMC has put this foundation course in place basically. Because these are the areas, this is the time when you can tell them that you just don't read a textbook, you just don't read from PowerPoint slides. You need to think about what you are learning. Next. Okay, so now we come to metacognitive awareness. Now, metacognitive awareness has three components. One is metacognitive knowledge, which is thinking of what one knows, that I know this. Then there is a metacognitive skill. That is, what you are doing, are you thinking and doing, or you are just doing it because you have been told to do so? And finally, it is metacognitive experience, when a person thinks of what his affective state is. That means what his affective state is. That means his current cognitive status. He will think about that. He has experienced something, and then to improve it further, he has to take certain strategies. So these are the three components of your metacognitive awareness. So first, we have to be aware. Then we can apply it to knowledge, skill, and experience. Next. So how is it related to learning? Now, we all agree. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people may not agree, but we normally agree that learning is a personal exercise, right? Eventually, you learn by yourself. But when you collaborate in a group, cooperative learning develops the metacognitive skills. This is important. And this development of metacognitive skills enhances the personal learning. So that is where metacognition comes as a very important aspect. So students become independent thinkers, students get control on what they are learning and how they are learning. This is very important. Please mark these two words. What they are learning is something, and how they are learning is a different thing. So metacognition harps on how they are learning. So students set their goals, their objectives, they define the content, they manage their time, they select the strategy, what they are going to use to learn, and then they come up with a product which they have an opportunity to share and find that yes, they have learned it correctly. Is this clear up till now? Any questions? Okay, so we move on. Next. So what do teachers do? Teachers have to soar. You know what the English meaning of soar is? You are soaring high. And soar is nothing but strategic observation and reflection. So we need to develop ourselves first before we address the student's problem. So we have a lens. And through this lens, we plan, we teach, and we reflect upon what we have taught, and we elevate ourselves. Okay? So this is a cycle. If you check, this is a cycle. So you have this is a cycle. So you engage in that cycle, and then you see what changes you are bringing in your student. Next. Okay. So now the students will engage in a reflective process. What reflection? Reflection is regarding what they know and what they do not know. This is very important for a student to address, and we are there to make them understand this difference. Then comes what they are able to take action, or what action they should take to address the flaws and gaps. That is, I know this, but I don't know this. There is a gap. So how do we address that gap? And there they apply these self-regulating strategies very flexibly and interdependently. Next. So there are three fundamental principles. We need to embed metacognitive instructions in the content matter. We need to inform the learners about the usefulness of these activities, and we need to prolong the training to guarantee this application process. Now, my request is do not use words when you are taking a class. Don't tell students that I'm teaching you metacognitively. Okay, that will create a disaster. But when you put a question and you tell them that this question will help you to identify your flaws, itself you have driven the message that they are becoming metacognitive learners. Next. Okay, hold on. So now we go backwards. So we have the learners. They evaluate and adjust their strategies, and they become good problem solvers. Now, educators need to apply appropriate metacognition strategies in instructions. Okay, it is not only for SDL, it can be for any type of teaching learning activity that you are doing, you can incorporate metacognitive strategies. Next. So, of course, it enhances, but this is the one. So I'm leaving it there. Just read for yourself. I'll give you 2 minutes time, or 1 minute maybe. Now, can you tell me why I gave you this 1 minute time instead of me reading and explaining again? You can unmute yourself and talk. You can unmute yourself and talk. Poonam, you are muted too.
Yeah, Anupa, please.
To think about our thinking, our own thinking.
Exactly. So this is one example which you can apply in your classroom to enable students to be metacognitive. They have to be active listeners. They have to be active readers. So you give them some time to assimilate and they will think. Then you can ask them back, do you think this is the correct thing? Then they will say something, then you correct them or you discuss that. So this is one aspect. Okay, next. So you create opportunities to learn about what things help him or her to remember facts, names, and events. Now, these days, students are very smart. They have internet, they have got YouTubes. So they probably know all these things, mnemonics. They can create their own mnemonics also. So you just need to tell them that these are the things. You don't actually have to teach them. So once they become autonomous in their learning, they will start regulating their okay. Ayed, just hold on for a moment. I'll address your question. I regulate their cognitive processes and improve their self-image. So the more they become cognitively and metacognitively aware, they get better results, and that improves their self-image. Everybody feels happy that, okay, I can understand, I know this. Next. So the learning capacity increases. No. Through the use of metacognitive strategies. This is proven, and this we have done. So shall we address Ayad's question, or we will do it later? Yes, Poonam?
We can address the question, answer the questions.
Okay. When introducing novice learners to metacognition, does it matter if it is done implicitly in a spontaneous manner, or does it have to be explicitly demonstrated, structured, and voiced or documented? No, you can do it implicitly. Absolutely. You just use this, you just incorporate these strategies in your lectures or in your tutorials or in your SDL sessions. The result will be automatically coming up. Does that answer your question, Ayat?
He said thank you.
Thank you. So that answers your question, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
No other question.
I don't see any other question in the chat. No. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Now I will just show you certain sort of questioning. It's an intentional questioning pattern, basically. So these are some gross questions actually. People, if a person is metacognitively aware person, the person will say like, I'm wondering if this is the right way to do. They will never say this is the right way to do. So what do I already know about this topic? Like I'll give you a very quick example here itself. I did not send you people any reading material, right? So Poonam wrote to me yesterday night that, ma'am, can you share some materials?
Yes,
What
yes,
I
ma'am.
told her,
One of the one participant
yes,
asked me.
yeah, that's why I'm sharing it here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So why I did not share the justification was this. Once you know the topic and once you have seen on the flyer that these are the objectives of this session, it is expected that people who are motivated and interested, they will go, because now internet is everywhere, you know, the internet gives you all information. So just to go through it and just have a gross idea, then I'll come and of course I'll explain your doubts. So students also, we need to do the same thing. Don't teach everything in the classroom. Don't give them resources for everything. They have a textbook. Yes, there is a basis. A basic textbook is there. Allow them to explore. Allow them to find out. Now, for this, you may ask me that if we ask them to explore, they can go into any blogs or anything and come up with all sorts of information. Yes, that is why you need to have a session in your foundation or your orientation on ICT, information and communication technology, how to elicit information, which websites to use, how to organize the information, how to manage the information, and how to present the information. That needs to be done in your orientation and foundation. Okay, so this is something you can keep in mind, that you intentionally, you actually applied. It is not subconscious thinking, it is conscious. Okay, next. Now, when you plan, well, hold on. When you plan a session, normally we plan it this way, isn't it? Whichever session. This was, of course, in context to SDL, but never mind. You plan a session, you have a lesson plan, you prepare, then in that you have your learning outcomes and all stated and everything. Then you design the lesson. Like, what are you going to say? Are you going to show a picture first, a video first, a case first? So you have a trigger. It's up to you. Your subject speciality demands whatever. Then you implement it. You go to the classroom and you actually take the class. In the classroom, whatever you do has got impact, right? It can be a didactic lecture. It can be an interactive lecture. Now, at this point, many of you can ask me or challenge me with the question that how do you do it with 200 students? You can do it. We just did with 150 students in this foundation. All you need to do is you need to keep 2 to 3 staff members in the classroom. That's all. Rotate between the groups and just moderate the thing. But students get an opportunity to think, pair, share. You know, those of you who have done FAMER, you know this technique. Think, pair, share.
Madam, can we take a volunteer from students also?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah.
Senior students, you mean?
Because sometimes what happens, we also don't have a staff in the department.
No, you mean senior, you want senior students to come into the class, or you want the same batch students?
Same batch, because senior
Same
students
batch, yes.
also must be having class.
Yes, so you can make small groups.
Yeah.
And you can say one person is going to be the coordinator or leader of this group.
Yes.
So he should see that there is no noise, no big noise coming out. Discussion is going on in proper lines. You can do it always. Classroom techniques are all left to the lecturers, you know. Okay, implement, then you have a strategy and then you give a feedback. Now can you open it up all at the same time? Just open it up. Okay, so you see, foster discussion, empowering students to question. There lies your metacognition. Students keep asking questions means they're actually thinking about it. And when you give feedback, remember feedback is a real skill. I think giving feedback is a much difficult skill to acquire than to teach in the classroom. Okay. So when you give feedback, you need to put in metacognitive points. That means you need to ask the student first that why do you think this has happened? And opt the answer will come promptly, I did not study. The next question should come up, why you did not study? What was the other job that we were doing? Okay, so students are always going to come up with lots of excuses. You have to use your wisdom to get things out of them. Next. Have you heard about the name Robert Gagne? Gagne? Have you all heard about his name? Anyone?
Yes.
At least say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Dr. Parmod, you said yes. Fine. So then you know that when you prepare a lesson, this is actually very utilizable for flipped classroom, but it's all right. Even in a normal classroom also you can do this. You first gain attention of the student by using whatever trigger you want to. If you are taking a class on basal ganglia, you use a simulated patient, or if that is difficult, you can show a video. If that is difficult, our lecturers used to actually demonstrate in the class all the extrapyramidal effects and everything. Inform the learner of the objectives or the outcomes. This is very important. The learner should know what is he going to get out of it. Relate to the prior learning. Previously, if anatomy has taught or any other area they have been taught, you relate it to prior learning. Then you present the content. Once you present the content, you give a guidance, or that is also okay. You practice. How do you practice? Give them 5 questions. Don't have to write. Don't give like school, they will revolt. Don't give like school. Give them 5 questions on a Google form and tell them that try to answer these things by the time I have the next class. In the next class, before you start the class, check out whether they have attempted this or not. It's a very structured process. Just think of your school days. Our school teachers used to actually do this. They never knew what is metacognition, I'm sure about it. And they never knew what is self-regulated learning, but they did it in such a way that we actually evolved to be self-directed and self-regulated learners. Once you get the view that the students have learned this or did not learn this, or there's a misconception, which in physiology we have plenty misconceptions, you provide a feedback. Then you must create an opportunity to have an assessment. That of course you have, because you have got block tests and other things, right? And block tests and all. Do you have opportunities like that? And block tests?
No, we don't have at our institute.
So you must introduce certain things like that, either a fortnightly or bi-monthly, something like that. That before they come for the first internal, they should have some opportunities to find out whether they have learned or not. But anyway, Aiims, you get all the cream of the society. So students themselves are very good actually.
Yes.
Okay. So enhance retention and transfer to the job. That also you have to find out. That means if you have taught something in physiology, there should be opportunities in the second year for the pathology people to check out whether their concepts are clear in physiology when they teach pathophysiology. Okay, next. Now I come to the strategies one by one. Okay. These are the list of strategies. There may be many more. These are doables. That's why I have put these. Teach students how their brains are wired for growth. Give them practice. Provide opportunities for reflecting on the work. Help students keep learning journals. Use a wrapper. You know, the wrapper, like in the chocolates, we have wrappers. And when you open the wrapper, you get the original thing. Consider essay versus multiple choice exams and facilitate reflexive thinking. Now, When this was prepared, the people who did this, it was almost 20 years back. In these 20 years, students have evolved, we have evolved. So we now have to use these strategies as applicable currently. Please remember this. Okay. I am very bad in publishing papers actually. The amount of work I have done, it could have been closely 50 plus papers by this time. Okay, so once you do some work, do publish them so that people know that you have done this, others can do that also. I am at the fag end of my career, so I don't need it anymore. Okay, so please do it. If you are doing something in your classroom teaching strategies, please publish them. Next, now I go one by one. Next. Okay, so physiologists, you already know, I don't need to tell you. You have to tell students how they actually learn. What is the mechanism of learning? We all know that it is the making and breaking of synapses, right? Creating and destroying neural pathways. And that's how thoughts evolve. So when you tell them that the stronger pathways, the pathways which are used frequently get stronger. So the more you think about a particular process to be effective, you become more equipped with the skill to apply that. I remember my professor always used to say that there is only one thing which the more you use, the better it becomes. And we used to just look like this because we never had YouTubes or Google or anything. So then he used to say it is the brain. The more you use your brain, the better it becomes, the sharper it becomes. So that you need to drive into the students. Next. So I think you already heard about this growth mindset and fixed mindset, right? So when you take a session, tell the students that there is no problem. Take problems as opportunities. Don't be jealous of your friend who has got more marks than you. Develop the habit of admiration, mutual respect. If there is something you are in a difficult situation, take it as a lesson learned so that this situation will help you to learn something. Too hard. People sometimes say it's too hard. Anatomy is too hard. Oh, physiology has got so many mechanisms, too hard. It's not too hard. It's worthwhile. You learn here, you get the advantage when you go to the clinics. Criticism. Don't take criticism as criticism. People criticize because they are concerned about you. So feedback. Okay? Feedback is the word. It is not criticism. We used to have a term called constructive criticism. Okay? I told this in that seminar also, and today also many of you are new. So let me tell you, I belong to the Jurassic Park age. Okay? I'm quite a dinosaur here. So feedback is something which is important and positive. You know, of course, in physiology, we have positive feedback in a different way, but things should be told in a way that it is receptive. It is receptible, that people don't feel bad. And don't say don't know. Never say don't know. Tell this to the student that if I ask you something and you say I don't know, that's not the way out. If you don't know, you find out. Same thing happens with us. If I don't know something, I don't tell the students that I don't know. You say I'm not aware right now. I am going to go back and find it out and get back to you. But make it a point that you are actually getting back to them. Otherwise, they won't trust you anymore. So this is growth mindset. If you are not having growth mindset, you are not going to grow in life. Next. Yeah, next. Give them practice to recognize what they don't understand. Hold on. Okay. So what was the most confusing thing that you explored today? If I ask you now, suppose I am taking a class. So what will you say? What was the most confusing thing that you explored today? Unmute yourself and talk. I want to hear voices.
Ma'am, the term itself, the metacognition, it is new for us
Okay.
for undergraduate teaching.
Okay, fine. Okay, Dr. Hitesh, thank you for your encouraging comment. Okay, now, so when you ask a student in a classroom setting or wherever you are teaching, I mean, whichever method you are teaching in, it jumpstarts your metacognitive processing. So they will think, am I confused with this concept? Am I confused with this concept? So it is not a mechanical learning, there is some thinking component coming. Next. And it also builds a classroom culture. And what is that culture? The culture is that confusion is not a crime. It doesn't tell that I am unintelligent, I'm not smart, I have not understood. Confusion is basically a part of learning. If you are confused, then only you are going to go and learn that again. So this classroom culture has to be built. Most of our students do not talk. I am telling this because I don't know if any one of you have teaching experience other than India, outside India, because you will be able to relate. People say that Asian students, particularly Indian students, are not vocal. They are not vocal because we don't allow them. Right from day one, they are taught you cannot argue with a teacher, you cannot ask questions in the class, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So why do you think they're going to do ask questions? I personally know people, my own colleagues, who go to the first class and say, nobody asked me a question when I'm talking and I'm giving a lecture. Come on. You don't say like this. You say, when I'm taking a lecture, if you have a question, note it down somewhere. As I finish my lecture, raise your hand and ask me the question. Don't threaten students. That's all I want to say. So confusion. Next. Okay, this is what I said. If you are confused and you understand that you are confused, it is basically you are self-aware. It's not a crime. Nobody is going to put you in jail. This is something which you can use. You can tell students that, okay, if you have stopped, you don't have to give all these colorful things. You just tell them that if you have stopped learning at a particular point, suppose they're reading, say, blood pressure regulation. I'll quote physiology because that's my forte. Now, if they have stopped, suppose they got confused with sinoatrial mechanism, tell them that they can note it down. Then they will read it in a different manner and then they will say that, okay, new ideas, new perspectives developed. So now I understood. And then there will be a green. Now they have highlighters, right? That's what I told you, that these are all from days of, 15, 20 years back. Now they have highlighters. They have posted notes. So they can write on a green posted note and stick it up on the book or even on the wall of their study room. But you should show them the way. What is the way? The way is whenever you stop learning, you are confused at some point, note it down and try to find out why you are confused at that point. Now, if your confusion is clarified, you note it down that I understood this because my friend explained it to me in this way, because my teacher explained to me in this way. Every time it need not be in writing, it can be here. Okay, but give them the mechanism. Next. Provide opportunities to reflect on coursework. Now, coursework we hardly have this culture. We can develop actually. If you are having tutorials as one of the teaching learning activities, you actually can have you can call that as equivalent to coursework. Pre-class, post-class, clarity of concept. Okay. That is very good in identifying these or giving them the opportunities. And then you can use a wrapper. Okay, what is a wrapper? What does a wrapper do? you ask the students to identify or note down 3 to 5 salient points or important things that they learned from your session. This is very simple. Ask them to take a writing pad like this, half a page, tear it out, just write it there and drop it in a box on the table. And then you tell them that these were the wrapping message that I want to give you. These are the 3 important things or 5 important things that were taught. So they will monitor. Next. Okay. So the moment the teacher moment the teacher reveals the same, the student gets an immediate feedback. He will think, hey, I didn't think that way. So this was more important than what I thought. So the thinking process comes into place. Next. Ask students to maintain learning journals and don't do everything at the same time. Huh? That is again another message I need to give you. Don't apply everything at the same time. That will increase load. Use just any one of these. Enough. Questions to reflect on how they learn, not what they learned. What will automatically come? How they learned. Next. So these are the questions that you need to ask. And when they do this, don't ask them always to write on a notebook. These are all technology kids, right? They are all with blogs and vlogs and whatnot, I don't know. So ask them to write blogs, ask them to write wikis. Best is mind map. Mind map is very easy. It's a pictorial depiction of your mental model. So just write down a mind map and they will be very happy. So you encourage creativity through this. Next. Now, hold on. Reflexive thinking, okay? So long we were talking about reflection, reflective. Now we talk about reflexive. What is reflexive? What is reflex? Physiologists, what is reflex? Yes? All physiologists here, what is reflex? The first lecture, homeostasis.
Response to a stimulus is the reflex.
Yes, response to a stimulus. Unpremeditated, you don't think. Before that, the thing will come. Of course, there are exceptions, conditioned reflex and all other exceptions, never mind. So reflexivity is basically becoming aware of our biases. We all have biases, right? We are all biased at some point or other. Because we are grown up differently, we are groomed differently, schooling different, our culture different. So what happens is we become biased or prejudiced, regarding certain things. Like I have heard elderly people, what elderly, and I'm also elderly now. Anyway, people saying, if I don't teach, how will they know? That's your bias. Who says the student doesn't know or cannot know if you don't teach? So, reflexive thinking makes you aware.
Ma'am, your voice is not coming. Hello? Ma'am, your audio has stopped. Ma'am, your audio is not coming. Audience, please wait a minute. I am calling her.
Ma'am, voice is not coming.
The guest faculty has been disconnected. She is trying to connect.
Okay.
Really, these are technical glitches. We have to be ready for these. So please have patience. Mind right. So dear all, by the time Madam joins, let us see how many of you are practicing these strategies.
Hello, Dr. Poonam.
Yeah, Dr. Pramod, please
Hanji.
share your experience.
But actually, Gagne's 9 events, I try in my classes. Like before start, I just try to create interest in the subject. The first thing I do like that. Like my subject is forensic medicine, so first before starting my session, I try to create interest in the student. That is the first step of Gagne's 9 events that madam just told. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So
Yeah, we
just
can
like-
see, ma'am. We can.
I think Dr. Poonam, he is on mute.
Sorry, sir. Ma'am is just connecting with the
Okay, ma'am,
the
पर
guest
distracted.
faculty.
कैसे audio
We
कैसे
will just
जाएगा?
get back to you, sir.
दीपक yeah.
Because this is very strange, this
Yeah.
never happened like this.
अब पूछो.
Ma'am,
Yeah, so
Audience can listen.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am, it is coming. Yeah, now
Okay, it's coming.
you speak. Yeah. We are
okay,
on
no problem.
reflective slide.
Okay, fine. I talk to the phone and you keep changing slides over there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So, okay. So we have this facilitating reflective thinking and they become learners. So now you see the other side, we have this reflective and reflexive. So we have to make our learners or our students both reflective and reflexive. Okay? Next. So the next slide will actually tell you when you make a student metacognitively aware and a self-regulated learner, this is the cycle you need to follow. So they plan and set goals, they use strategies and monitor performance, and they reflect and adapt. Now, this reflect and adapt is the area where metacognitive ability, awareness, skills, everything comes into this. Right? Okay. Next.
Yes, ma'am.
Now comes the question that how do you measure? Can you measure metacognition? You can measure. There are plenty of methods by which you can measure. Now, I am not going to go into details of this. If any one of you are interested in doing a research project on metacognitive awareness of students and stuff like that, get in direct touch with me. I can talk to you individually. This is just for your information that you have mechanisms to assess and measure a student's metacognition. Okay? Next slide will give you those inventories and all. But I don't think we need to, strategies we have all spoken about. So this is something which you can actually use. It's a questionnaire. You can give it to the students. They can answer, they can give the responses. These are all self. The 52-item questionnaire is basically self-reporting. But you can have diagnostic tests, When you use in assessment, if you use questions which demand metacognitive thinking, and these are the diagnostic tests. That means, say for example, you ask them a question that during exercise, the blood flow through the vessels supplying the skeletal muscles increase. Okay, during exercise. And because exercising muscles releases potassium, which is a vasodilator. Now you ask them this statement is right or wrong. So the students will write right or wrong, whichever answer they will write. But you don't stop there. You ask him an additional question, saying, how sure were you when you answered this question? So even if he's writing yes, he should give a justification of why he's writing. Has he written it thoughtfully, mindfully, or he has just mugged up and just took a try? This is something which we need to keep in mind when we ask questions. Now, this will not be possible if you are doing summative assessment in university. It will be difficult because there's a definite format. But you have got all these block tests, your internals and everything, through which you can test whether they are developing metacognitively or not. So metacognitive skill diagnostic test you can actually use. Okay? Is that clear? Poonam, you can track the chat box and just let me know.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any question? No questions, right?
No question till now.
Okay. So next, I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about concept mapping so that this is one way in which you can check the concept of the student, whether they have developed or not. So concept mapping actually allows the student to organize their thoughts. So if they organize their thoughts properly and they understand the concept of a particular mechanism, then they will be able to put it down into a pictorial map. The concept map needs connections to be made. If heart rate increases blood pressure, there is a mechanism in between, right? So that mechanism needs to be noted down over there. It's not a flow chart. Concept map is not a flow chart. Next.
Yes.
Is an example of concept map actually. You know, if you see, it's a concept map example on concept map. Just go through it by yourself. You see, there are connectivities. Concept map can improve understanding and retention. So the connectivities are all written over there. And it is in a very small space, you can actually, you are able to know what is concept map, right? You see this? Similarly, you can ask students to build concept maps or create concept maps on whatever they have learned. This is a very good way of testing even metacognitive ability. So you can just click one by one and the actual mechanisms come over here. So you see linking terms must be there and you explain how you see the ideas being related to one another.
Okay. Basically, concept map shows the relationship.
Relationship, yes. Concept maps give you the point as well as how those points or those concepts are related to each other. Okay?
Yeah.
What type of actions? Okay, increase in heart rate will do what, then will increase this. So like that. So concept maps actually emerged as a very good method of mind modeling, the what do you call pictorial modeling of your mind. And this is a very good way. You can even ask in exams that how to draw a concept map on.
While making a concept map at every step,
Yes.
we should ask so what.
Sorry?
I'm just adding that if we are going to make a concept map, then at every step we should ask the question on your own.
Yes.
So what? So what?
So
this is happening.
yes.
So what?
If
This is happening. So what?
Why is it happening?
Yeah.
Gives them an opportunity to think.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this okay. Now what the next slide you go? This is another picture of a concept map only in the same way. One was handwritten, the previous one was handwritten, and this one is done in a proper way using technological tools. Okay? So they can do anything. It is basically creativity. Next, there is another picture here. Do you think it is the same as what was in the previous picture, or is there any difference?
This is mine.
It's slightly different, right?
Yes, ma'am. This is mind map.
This is in between actually. It's a mind map because it doesn't give you the actual relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, another example of a mind map. So mind maps are basically used for planning. You know, you go from here to here. Okay, from here this hour I'll do this. I'll go there. I'll do this work and come back here. And so the mind map is basically for planning. Concept map is for the final understanding or conceptualization. Okay. So both are powerful tools. Both explore creative ideas. One is build plans and solve problems, and one is mechanism and concept. Now, nothing is complete without assessment. If you are teaching in a metacognitively aware manner and you want your students to be metacognitively skilled, you must have the opportunity in your assessment to check that. So when you use structured long answer questions or modified long answer questions or essay questions or period-based questions, you give them an opportunity to think. So that level of thinking satisfies whatever you are doing in the classroom. Apart from that, you can also use critical summary of concepts. Okay, critical summary of concept is something, it is not a map really, but they are going to write down a paragraph. So clinicians can use this type of a technique because if there are any clinician in that group, you may use it. Like you are after seeing a patient and discussing and everything, you can say just write a critical summary of the whole thing. So they will know what are the important things to write, where there is a gap of knowledge. They are going to
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Then you can ask them narratives and reflections. And finally, you can have SJT. Are you aware of SJT, situational judgment test? Anyone?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay. Situational judgment tests are basically standardized tests. They are all available online. But you can create your own also. You can create a situation and you will ask the student, there will be no right or wrong answer actually, you know. You can test the affective domain very well through this. Then you can ask them that which one is most appropriate for this type of a situation. Which one is least appropriate and why do you think so? So are you the metacognitive component? So these are just opportunities for you to assess students in order to check that they are evolving as metacognitive learning. Strategies in teaching are those which I discussed, those 5 or 6 points up there. But nothing is complete unless you assess and you see that your product is fulfilled. Okay? Concept map rubric, I don't think I need to explain here. We can have separate sessions, but you can have these slides, no issues. Okay? So when you use concept map for assessment, you must prepare a rubric. Without a rubric, you cannot do. Because you must have a structured way of marking. Otherwise, it will be very subjective. Okay? So this is an example of a scoring model. You see on the level, then you see the connectivity, and you can put it in your own way. Like if the relationship is valued, you give them some marks, you can decide कि अच्छा relationship valued हो तो हम 5 points देंगे यहाँ पे, relationship partially valid हो तो हम 3 points देंगे यहाँ पे. You can decide, but what you decide has to be a standard for that particular university. This is important. All of you must be having all these assessment boards and preclinical, clinical boards and all these things. Your curriculum committee must approve that. You can design your own, that's not a big deal, but you must have a standardized one. Okay. I think I've come to the end of the session. Very sorry for this technological slip, but anyway, we are human beings. We go one on top of technology. So, if you have questions, you can put it to Poonam, to me now. I can clarify them, whatever I can. Otherwise, you can send the questions to me. I can give it to you in writing. I can send it to you by today itself, and you get satisfied over this. Now, from my side, to conclude the session, 5 take-home messages from this session. This should go to Poonam. Poonam can communicate it to me.
Okay.
Or if you want to write to me directly, my email ID is over there. You can write to me directly on the email. 5 take-home messages from this session.
Ma'am, we will take the feedback from the participants, and in that we can put this question, 5 take-home messages.
Okay, put it in that. Yes, that is fine. Put it in that. Okay?
Yeah.
So now if they have any 1 or 2 questions quickly that can be addressed, you can tell me. I'll verbally take that.
Okay. We don't.
Some of
Yeah.
Yes, please speak out.
initially some of the slides missed by me because I am having class. I joined at 4:15. So initial topics, I don't know which will be already discussed.
Oh, somebody who joined late, is it?
Yeah, ma'am. A few slides she missed out, so she's asking.
Anyway, she can ask the question. If there is a question, I can just tell.
You can ask question. If there is any query, then.
Actually, this is very this is not known to topic to me actually, ma'am. Metacognition. I heard it first during the APPI, during the sessions.
Okay.
Or a second time I am now listening the same, so I am getting more concepts from this.
So
I have to study.
Clarify now, or you want to go through it, read up yourself, and then come back and have a discussion.
I can ask only questions with when I have whole understanding of I picked only 60 to 70%, ma'am.
But Dr. Mandeep, it becomes very difficult to start with from very first slide.
Yeah, there is no problem. I will read this topic by ma'am's different slides and then.
The slides are already with Poonam. Poonam, you can make it a PDF and you can share it with them.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
So that's not a big deal. Then you go through it, and in case you find difficulties or you need more explanation for that, you can actually get back to me, and I can I'll try to clarify a few whatever doubts.
YouTube link. We will share YouTube link. We are doing recording, and we are also doing live streaming. So we'll share YouTube link with you.
Okay, thanks, ma'am. That's a great effort. Thanks,
in that you can listen again.
Okay, thanks a lot, ma'am.
Right.
Ma'am, Dr. Pramod has asked a question.
Yes.
Dr. Pramod, can you please ask?
No question actually. It was good actually again.
At that time you were sharing your experience and I didn't listen. Now you can please share.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Pramod, please.
No question actually again. It was good session. Again, this term was new to me. So, but I was aware of this Gagné's 9 events and concept mapping. But overall metacognition was new to me. But still I have to understood that how I can use it or this like agree 9 steps and concept mapping and that question paper style, all these things together there comes under metacognition. So that I was just thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Because see, concept, I tell you, concept map is a little difficult in the beginning, but if you start with a small scale, say for example, if you are asking a student to, you have a case of hypertension, you do a CBL on that, and after your second CBL or SBL, whatever you are doing, after the session is over, in the last session, after everything is done, you ask the student to write a concept map and give them only a little bit of idea. That's what I do. I don't want to curb the creativity of students. So you tell them that concept map means you have a center point and say the signs and symptoms. Okay, you write it in one corner. Then signs and symptoms, what are the signs and symptoms of this patient that came? Okay, fine. Now you explain each of these signs and symptoms. You go to the investigations, what investigations were done, why it was done. So what happens in one page, this fellow will have everything about hypertension in that page. Okay, so you can try on small scale and then see if you can use it. If not, fine, you can have something. You can do the critical summary also.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay, Anji. Thank you very much. It was a good session. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other question? Any queries? So no, yeah. Dr. Yangshen, please.
Ma'am, I had a query.
Yeah, sure. Please tell me.
Ma'am, suppose you're saying that every student will have a different matlab, way of learning. So some learn by visual and some by reading. And so in a lecture, how do we maintain or grab their attention so that every student is attentive towards our lecture, because everybody has a different way of learning. So some students might not be interested in a lecture per se. So how do we?
Most students these days are not interested in lectures. Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
ma'am.
True, very true. Because the reason is the lectures are. Any one of you have heard Dr. Ramnarayan's lectures?
Yes.
They're on YouTube actually.
Yeah. I have heard.
Can you tell me any student will refuse to listen to Professor Ramnarayan?
No.
Why not? Tell me, why not?
Because of the interactivity and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, hang on, you got it. So you need to make your lesson in such a way that you give students an opportunity to interact.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Content, when we give factual content in the classroom through PowerPoint slides, then students become bored.
Okay.
Why
Okay.
these students? We also used to become bored. We had a professor who came from Japan and he brought all those small slides, in which he used to teach us special senses.
Okay.
So I का picture है, here का picture है, ये सब है, छोटे-छोटे slides होते थे सब. They're not this PowerPoint and stuff like that. We used to call him बाबाजी का बास्केट. Okay. So चलो अभी बाबाजी का बास्केट चालू हो जाएगा. So anything that is monotonous is never liked,
Okay.
So change the pattern of your lecture. Change it. Tell the students, okay, आज मैं तुमको 10 slide दे दो दे दिया, पढ़ के आना परसों class है. Then do it in a flipped manner. Okay, give them autonomy. If they don't do, of course, I'm not saying that you give the liberty. But change it over. Coming to your point of learning styles are not acceptable for medical students. They have to adapt to multiple learning styles, which is why we use multimedia. We use audio visuals. Okay, we use practicals because that is kinesthetic, right? So this concept of learning style that we have, what is this very Marx for learning styles. Learning styles actually just do not exist basically for medical students because they need to have everything. They have to be visual learners,
They have to be read and write, they have to be auditory, and they have to be this thing. So there will be, even if you do a work study with these students, you will see there will be a mixed group. But because visual learning has better effect, every time we see a movie, we remember, isn't it?
Yes.
So use more of visuals, more of videos, more of animations, more of slides are actually visuals only basically. So mix and match. Do something mix and match. Do not make them dependent on only one tech. Okay. But teach them the strategy of learning.
Okay.
That is, they need to first survey, then they need to query, that SQ3R, survey, query, read, revise, reflect. Okay. First they will survey, find out the material properly. Then they will ask questions, why I am reading this, if this is this, then what is that, like that, all those questions. Then they will read. Once they have read, they will recite or revise. And then finally they will reflect. Have I learned? These are called effective learning strategies, ELS.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So use the strategies. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ma'am, there is one more question.
Yes.
Dr. Beena Verma has asked,
Okay.
Madam, how about the Zeigarnik effect, which can be curiosity evoking?
Zeigarnik.
Zeigarnik.
I'm not getting it. Can you repeat it again?
Zeigarnik effect for curiosity evoking. Dr. Veena, can you ask?
Can you explain this, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
No, I am an ardent follower of education, so I get to read so many things. So while I came across one terminology, Zeigarnik effect. So this is nothing but you don't give the whole thing. You retain the curiosity in the students to know. So it is like when you see the serials, it ends in something. No? Pardon?
That is exactly what we do for SBL, CBL, and all these things, isn't it? That you don't give the whole thing. You don't reveal the entire lesson.
Yeah. So there is something called Zeigarnik effect. That is why I came across this term. So I thought
I learned something. Yeah.
Yeah, this is new term for us. Although we all are
there
doing
is there is a story behind it. If you will, I can tell the story.
That is the thing. See, what happens is we use too much of terminology.
I know.
Don't use terminology. Use the method.
Yeah.
If you are publishing papers and all, it's fine. You can use these and explain and do the learning theories and everything. But when you are teaching in the class, just concentrate on the method that you are doing. Like, for example, you are taking a class on a particular topic. Say, stomach acid secretion. Okay. Start with the case of peptic ulcer. Go into it, all the biochemistry of acid secretion, regulation of acid secretion, everything done. Stop at that. Give them a clue of Helicobacter pylori and just stop and say, find out how Helicobacter pylori is responsible for all this.
Dr. Pramod has raised hand. Dr. Pramod, please.
I just wanted to say about this Zeigarnik effect because I had experience of it. Like this effect just says that the things which our tasks which are incomplete, our mind tend to remember those tasks. So in my office, the tasks which are incomplete, so they keep on coming to my mind that these are incomplete tasks.
Exactly, sir.
Yes.
So even the same thing happens with the students. So if they will complete some topics, they may forget. So instead of that, they should read in chunks. Like they should not complete it. And basically, it never happens with the students that they will complete it. So our mind remembers incomplete task.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yes. Because see, whatever you do, the issue is don't do it abruptly. You should tell the students why we are doing it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, students will come up with questions like this, that if I do everything, what are you going to do?
Yes.
Which is why you need to have a very informal discussion in the beginning of the session. Every class में बोलने का जरूरत नहीं है. जब introductory classes होते हैं ना शुरुआत में, उसी टाइम बता दो कि भाई देखो यहाँ का टीचिंग लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजीज ये है, तुम स्कूल में जो भी करके आए हो भूल जाओ. Forget about it. Now we are going to use these types of teaching learning strategies, and the reason is that you will be surviving in a VUCA world, right? In a volatile world. अभी अब कोरोना आया था, कोरोना चला गया, फिर आने वाला है, ठीक है? It is such a sort of ambiguous situation that we are living in, unpredictable.
Professor Ram Narayan also says.
One time information gathering cannot help you survive. Explain to them in the very beginning, and when you give them your expectations, they will follow it. Okay. Otherwise, they will say incomplete पढ़ाया, सर ने ये नहीं पढ़ाया, पिछले बैच में तो अमुक सर ने पढ़ाया, उन्होंने तो इतना सब कुछ बता दिया था. ये comparisons भी आ जाते हैं ना. Realistic thing I'm telling you.
No, ma'am, but incomplete छोड़ना भी it's an art. Means ऐसे student को भी ना लगे कि it is incomplete, but we have to. Yeah.
I am giving you an opportunity to complete it.
Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. तो ये सब जो है, ये जब फर्स्ट लेक्चर लेते हो कोई भी HOD ले या कोई भी डेप्यूटेड स्टाफ ले, in the very beginning you should give them very clearly that देखो भाई ऑब्जेक्टिव के मुताबिक हम पढ़ाएंगे, but objective is not all. There are many things in and around the objective which you need to know. So don't think medicine is not a physical science. Like electron है, proton है, neutron है तो है बस. पेशेंट तुम्हारे पास जब आएगा तो एक पेशेंट दूसरे पेशेंट से डिफरेंट होगा, तुम कैसे डील करोगे?
Yeah.
So these types of things they need to be told in a very informal way. इसके लिए क्लास नहीं चाहिए रहता. You know?
Yes.
We are doing it actually in the orientation now, in the foundation one में also कर रहे हैं हम लोग.
Yeah, many times it can be told. Or whenever we are teaching the teaching learning methodology to in foundation course, there we can stress upon that the things will be like that. You will not be told each and everything. You have to find out.
That's the right approach. Yes. But these are the different teaching learning activities you are going to face.
Yeah.
Every month, मैं तो ये भी बोलती हूँ कि you will face multiple people, multiple teachers and multiple methodologies.
Yes, yes.
You have to adjust. You evolve as a flexible and adaptive learner. That's what we are looking forward to. हर बंदा एक जैसा नहीं पढ़ाता है. Some people have their own beliefs. You cannot rule out those things, though. एक अगर 30 years experience वाला आदमी तुमको आके पढ़ाता है, तुम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि उसको पढ़ाना नहीं आता है.
Yes.
तो फिर वो सर्वाइव कैसे किया इस प्रोफेशन में, है ना?
Yeah.
So we have to make the students understand कि जैसे तुम रेस्टोरेंट में जाते हो, you have so many plates and so many in the menu there are so many things. So you use your wisdom which one to take and which one not to take.
Yes.
So that part has to be very clear in these orientations and in the foundation and even in the classroom. The teacher also you people can tell.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for this enriching discussion.
Yeah, okay. So, if there are any other questions, you just forward it to me and then.
Okay. May I request
all the participants?
Ma'am, just wait. Just wait, ma'am.
So active and being cognitively present. You know,
Yeah.
we are not socially present, but we are cognitively present.
May I request all the audience to please show your video so that we can take our screen shot.
Yeah. I mean, you put my picture over there.
Yeah, ma'am. I will put your picture also.
No problem. It's all right.
No, ma'am. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I call it a day now. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you very much,
And,
ma'am.
we explain it later.
And thank you all the audience for joining us. Had a good day. I had a good sleep. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. And Merry Christmas to all of you.
Okay, same to you, ma'am.